Welcome everyone that's here tonight. Appreciate you being here. The agenda appears short. Normally with short agendas we spend a lot more time, but we'll kind of look at each item. We will have 2 public hearings. So we will convene 1 public hearing and ask for anyone that's here to speak in favor and anyone that's here to speak against. We will close that hearing and then we will open the second hearing and go through the same process on those. If there are any questions from the council members on the 2 particular things we're considering tonight, which could probably go ahead and enlighten us before we get into regular council. One, the simple one is the 78 Highway property. That is the old Fabric Jungle property. We have a business that wants to go in there that will be a sports memorabilia business, but they will basically be shipping all over the world out of that location. Plans in some future to add some warehouse space, but already no more traffic than what was probably there when it was Fabric Jungle. I think the mayor would be a good one to ask questions since his neighborhood sits adjacent to that property. But looking at the land, and Butch has pointed out, they will have a buffer, which was the main concern for those that came and spoke at the planning and zoning meeting. And that basically was approved by P&Z to come forward to the council. So if you had any questions for Butch, now might be the time to ask them.
My only question was, I know a lot of times we receive a plot map and everything, so I can see the location, but I don't know where the lines are per se. I saw a site, where it said the site on it, but I didn't.
Yeah, the existing Fabric Jungle site itself is already zoned I-1.
Right.
Existing building, it seems like any additional acreage behind it. This is the property of the existing building,
Okay.
this is the main point of this building. This is the subdivision that's just to the east of it. This is the Cashmere property here. They have approximately 100 feet of frontage there. This is a separate, all this property is several years ago, and the property right here over to the nearest subdivision lot, back here, roughly 100 feet.
This is a highlighted spot that he's looking at.
No, this is it. This one.
The yellow is the buffer. Oh, okay, cool.
Well, it's the other piece.
Gotcha.
Is he wanting to zone that out one also?
He's not wanting to touch the yellow.
This property here. Okay.
No, this is the tank. That's your tank. No, we're getting out there and the others.
So do you know what part is currently zoned one way and what's part, like where the line is about? Okay, fair enough.
Mayor lives right there.
Yes, he does.
Probably
I
go.
got a question before you leave. Sorry, I apologize for being late. I just saw that.
Back here, this is part 2. He's actually using this piece is commercial behind it. This is where the mayor lives in the subdivision. It's yellow colored because it's sprinkled and big out here. And this is the Cashmere property where we jumped several years ago. So that's property. This property. He should make things here for the White House. That's commercial. This is on 2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the second item would be on public hearing would be the property that was discussed. This is the rezoning of the property that Mr. Isaac David would be developing. Again, any questions tonight from Mr. Gerald?
Yeah, Isaac, that's the one on Grant.
That's the one on Grant Smith.
Is he
yeah.
here?
Dan is here to represent him.
That's right, that's right. What's the proposed, what? Oh, okay. Yeah,
Anything we'll clarify with Butch, though?
no,
Okay. All
no,
right, thank you.
I'll check the clerk here.
I want to ask James a question. What kind of, James, what kind of revenue will the city receive from that tax wise? Is it just, business license and property tax, or will we receive any
Which
sales tax
one?
revenue?
First one or second?
On the, favorite number?
Business license, and you also receive sales tax and property tax.
What sales tax? What sales tax?
I
If you're gonna
mean-
be shipping it out of the city.
Oh, I thought you were talking about for their project.
No, we reverted to.
Oh,
the
but that
first.
would
Yeah,
be,
package.
that would just be business licenses on gross receipts.
Okay, and what is the percentage on gross receipts that we get for business license?
It all depends on what schedule he falls up under. So, that schedule has about 20 different
It's
calculations.
not a percentage of the sales.
Well, it's usually 1/10 of 1% with $20,000 being exempt.
We just have control of the
Well, I was concerned with the shipping out, because where I work, we deal with a lot of that, and I know there's lots of taxes don't get collected.
Well, what is it, $1 million for a business license, it'd be 1,000.
Okay. The next items we would be reviewing would be under new business. The first one would be, David, you may want to go over that some since you're sponsoring that. Your name is by it, if you want to mention it.
We didn't talk anything about the Graves Mill at all.
Did apparently nobody,
I mean, I don't have a comment. I just-
nobody else here had any
Okay,
questions.
fair enough.
We covered that pretty well, I think, at the
Okay.
previous.
No new business, would be resolution 2018 R19, authorizing the city to accept 3,500 from a crowdfunding initiative. And then immediately following that, 2018 R20 authorizes in-kind services for the Whistle Stop Festival in an amount not to exceed 3,500. Those two items go hand in hand.
Okay. Mayor, did you have a particular comment on that particular amount of funding as far as what it could cover, or?
I believe,
I can give you an idea. I can tell you that last year, the estimate on cost for in-kind, if we did the same thing as last year, $750 on police, $2,800 on public works, and $1,500 on fire, so that's $5,000. $5,050, if I did the math right in my head quickly there. That can be reduced down, I'm just giving you the comparison to what last year was.
And we'll know that going into this vote. All right. Any other questions from the council?
Yeah, I do. Of course, I do. This is the last meeting when it was deadline. I think this came back this week.
Would you please use your microphone so
This
this
particular
material
item,
recorded?
I
Thank you.
think this came back this week. Last week, what y'all vote on?
Right, the last time it came up for a vote for the 7,000, it did not pass.
Yeah, that was last week.
Right, what was last meeting, yes, sir?
Yeah, last week. I just want to mention that, this proposal came back up, and we have already talked about, some events being held in the city. We already voted down Spring Fest. And that particular festival seemed like it had momentum in the community. And we kind of done away with it. So my question is, have anyone mentioned, since we didn't have a work session this past Monday due to the storm, have we even discussed putting it back on the agenda? Do we find money for Whistle Stop? I guess we can find money for the Spring Fest.
Well, we're not finding this money. This money was funded by a private initiative and is being given to the city for that use. So it's a totally different approach than what you're talking
Well,
about.
let me rephrase
This
that.
has nothing to do with the city providing money. It's the city accepting money that was raised on private initiative.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. That didn't come out right. Have we discussed funding the Spring Fest as far as in-kind services for the Spring Fest also?
The in-kind services on Springfest were always rolled into it because it was a city-funded, a city-sponsored event. Whistle Stop Festival not being city-sponsored has to go through a couple of more qualifiers.
Okay,
Joe,
so I believe that if the Whistle Stop is not a city-sponsored event, does that mean that the Whistle Stop Foundation could probably stand on their own? They've been in existence for what, 10, 20 years, I guess? So why do they need anything from the city? If that's the case, why is the city, why are we offering in-kind services to a foundation that has already been established for several years?
We're not anymore. The city, the people of the city saw fit to raise the money out of their own pocket.
I'm not talking about raising the money. We're talking about appropriating a certain amount. Now, I rushed here because I work 12 to 14 hours a day. So I left my computer, left all my notes, or whatever the case may be. But my question is, why are we still asking for money from the city, even if it's in-kind services, when we could do the same thing for the Spring Fest? That's my only question. When the foundation has been established for several years, they should have money in the bank.
This is, it's a non-profit organization. They don't raise seed money at the end of one year to start another. And Bob could probably elaborate a little bit better on this, but the moral of the story is, it was a crowd-based funding initiative. Private money is coming to pay for this resolution.
But you're asking the city for money though, right?
No, sir.
No.
What in-kind services?
That are being paid for by this dollar.
Okay, so the city is not spending any funds on the Whistle Stop
We are accepting $3,500
from the
privately
community, right?
crowdsourced funds in order to go towards $3,500 worth of in-kind services. Now,
Okay.
obviously, if the festival is scaled
Okay.
down, in-kind services will probably reflect that a little bit, but there's still a contract that still has to be worked out between the foundation and the mayor.
Okay.
So the $3,500 will go towards.
Right, and you know, I'm just trying to get an understanding, so the in-kind services will be paid through the private donations that was collected through what was, okay, all right. So the city will not be spending any money on this particular event?
That's correct. That's, yeah.
That is correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that's all I need to
The
know.
$3,500.
That's all I need to know. Yeah,
Bobby
I
Joe,
don't wanna go back.
and when Joe Knight was here in February, he said that he would donate $2,000 from his discretionary fund for the Spring Fest. You contacted him about that?
Actually, he said 3,000, but, yeah, but no. I mean, we'll talk, yes, we have talk, yeah. But I just wanted to make sure that the city wasn't expanding any funds as far as on the Whistle Stop. Okay.
And we will have an agenda add tonight. It's a alcoholic beverage control board license. The city has to do their part. The main board has already approved it at state level. And this is for the basic business. Let's see, we have an actual name over here. Irondale Market LLC. So it's a business behind City Hall on the corner. And it's already gone through the state. This would be, James will have to come up for our meeting with an actual resolution wording, but this would be to approve the part that the city has to approve to move forward with that.
I got another question. Why do we keep adding stuff to the agenda when most of us don't know anything about it at the last minute? Now, we have council policies and procedures as far as getting items in on the agenda, especially if they're not an emergency type item that needs to be added. Why do we keep adding these things when, you know, all of us don't know about it?
Councilman Wilson, with that item right there,
the lady for the Irondale Market came on Friday and asked me if she could get the ABC board to give her that information by Monday. Could I ask the council to see if you all would put it on the agenda? Last night, we didn't have the work session, so I was gonna ask you all at the work session if it would be okay to add that item to the agenda. They have opened the store, which is maybe 2 blocks away from City Hall, and they would like to begin to sell beer and wine off premises as of Wednesday, since they're open. So that was the only reason that I asked President Marino to see if you all would consider putting it on the agenda, because she had went through the things that I asked her to do, and I just wanted to see if the council would be willing to do that, since we do want to be a business-friendly city.
I don't think that was an ask, he was adding it to the agenda.
I did, with request, and it made sense, since it was something that really didn't require a lot of thought process. It's either a yes or a no, you're for it or against it. And you've done this for other organizations within the city. It's not like a rezoning issue or something, which I would not have allowed. So, again, that can be, at the time we approve the agenda, you'll have your vote if you feel like it's out there, if somebody decides they want to go forward and place it on the agenda. Any other questions on that one? We'll move on. I believe that's all we have. Are there any other comments, Leslie? I think you had one item, please.
I would like to report, the mayor asked that I look at the intergovernmental agreement between Jefferson County Board of Education and the city as it relates to Shades Valley High School and the use of some facilities at Shades Valley by what the agreement refers to as the city's youth athletic programs and the, quote, city's program. And I've reviewed the agreement, and it's very similar to an agreement that the city has entered into before, back some years ago, relating to the soccer fields, as best I can tell, that we were never asked about that agreement at the time. But my main concern on this agreement is that the city itself does not have any youth programs or athletic programs that the city is a party to that I'm aware of. But what this agreement is asking the city to do is to make sure that all of the rules and regulations of the school board are followed by anybody that uses the school board facilities. It doesn't really define who these people are or through what programs they will be using the school board's facilities. It just doesn't say, and so I honestly don't know who these people would be. And because of that, I'm not sure how we can ensure that they comply with all the school board's rules and regulations. We're also agreeing to indemnify the school board for any claims that may come if somebody is using the school board's property and gets injured. The city would have to indemnify the school board to the extent of any claims. If equipment breaks by one of these participants, I think that we could potentially be on the hook to replace that equipment. It all comes back to my main concern being, I just don't understand who it is that we are kind of taking responsibility for.
Is this concerning soccer or basketball, or they didn't name anything?
It's mainly the gym, I believe.
Okay.
Used to be basketball.
Shades Valley, so I'm assuming it's basketball,
Mhm.
but I don't know who these groups are, and, you know, if we have an appropriate agreement with whatever the groups are, or group or groups are, that we
Thank
may be
God.
using this to make sure that they have adequate insurance, and that they indemnify us, if in case we're called on to indemnify the school board, that I'm concerned as to how we're kind of buying in to make sure that everybody follows the rules, and we're accepting responsibility for them when at least the agreement as written right now doesn't even come to the point that I can understand what we're talking about, what groups we're talking about. Certainly can probably be revised.
John London has coached basketball in the past, hasn't he, Bobby Joe?
You got to ask him. You got to ask
So I
him.
would think you would.
Yeah, you got to ask him.
here.
Yeah, he is.
Will,
He is.
you say there's not a basketball league?
Don't wait to count, I ain't started. My name came up.
I think you told me last week that there's not currently a basketball league.
As we speak today, that's not saying 2 months from now, 3 months from now, there won't be one. Because just like the baseball has done, we're trying to rally the neighborhood community to form a basketball league again. I used to be the guy that was over the president of the basketball league. And when it comes to different things, the league was required to have insurance. So the city never got hooked from anything, because the league always had insurance to protect themselves and protect the city. That's one of the requirements that they allowed us to do. And all it is, as we look around the city of Irondale, there's no basketball facility. Soccer had one, football was using,
Shake that.
football used Shades Valley also. Baseball got their own place, but forever, it's not been part of Irondale. The basketball kids, the city kids of Irondale, never had a place to go play. To the history, when it all started, we paid for everything. We raised funds, we paid the officials, we bought the insurance, we did everything. We did everything. Well, but this new superintendent, he wants to work with the city as best that he can. He wants to be a partner with the city. So this is how this agreement came up with our new superintendent, to allow our kids, Irondale kids, and myself included at the time, who was kind of the basketball president, to use the facility without charge, without being charged. And that was the only reason for the agreement, is that. But as far as mayor, council president, council, nobody did any work. But the group, the board that we had put together, we did all the work, had insurance and everything, so that's why it's here. They allow our kids around there. Matter of fact, last summer, even though we have a basketball league, but we had a guy who plays in NBA named KJ McDaniel. We had another guy named Eric Bledsoe, who plays in the NBA, who came back to Irondale and put on a basketball camp for the kids of Irondale. And the only reason we could put that on is because of this agreement. And that's the only reason we did. And that's what the agreement doesn't cost us anything. They're not charging anything. They just give us an opportunity for the kids of Irondale to use the facility. Just like baseball, just like soccer, who doesn't have a facility anymore. Just like football, we use it also. Got a free football clinic coming up pretty soon. Well, they're able to use Shades Valley High School football field, free football camp for kids. Over 300 kids last time, over 300 kids. And the reason we're able to use the field is because of the agreement. And that's what the agreement is about. And nothing to do with the agreement.
In years gone by, the city adjusted the high school's water bill and to compensate them for the power and paying somebody to come out there and open the school, lock it up. So we, as far as in-kind services, we adjusted their water bill to make allowance for their expenses that it cost them to use the basketball field. And we cut that out about 4 years ago because we had a disagreement with the school. But before I was on the council, they had been using the basketball goal up there. Well, I guess as long as the high school has been there, and we've been, we had been adjusting the water bill to compensate them for the expense it cost them.
Well, even 20 years ago, before I was even on council, I don't know anything about the water at that time. It was just a group of parents who got together, just like the Goodmans in the city, saw a need, saw a concern, and cleared their schedules and started Irondale Youth Basketball. And in the beginning, we paid for the use of facilities. Didn't have to city for anything. We paid the officials. We paid the guy, the supervisor for being there. It was about $40 an hour. We paid for somebody to sit there. And all they did was come in and turn a key and open the door. That's all they did. We paid for that. So, and And now, like I said, the new superintendent decided we shouldn't be paying for all of those things. And we still, the league also still, even with the agreement, still pays the supervisor. Got what
And
we
I
in
failed to mention that when I was initially discussing it, there is a provision in here that the city will reimburse the school board for the cost of an employee to be on site during any kind of facility that's used, so it's.
That was how we did it in the past, was through the water bill, we just adjusted the water bill, make up the difference between for their lights and whoever else there.
They don't make any provision for electricity or utilities at all, the only cost element to it, other than things like insurance and identification and things like that, is the reimbursement for the cost of their employees to be on site whenever the facility is being.
Right, and the city never was asked to pay that.
No,
They never paid that, the
no,
city.
that's because we adjusted the water bill. Make
Well,
up the
I
difference.
think for the sake of discussion tonight, we put it on the floor at the pre-council. It's not going to be going on for a vote at council tonight, but we do need to bring it up and work out the resolution of having the two pieces come together so that we have a viable contract if we move forward that covers both the city's needs and the needs of the various leagues. And we probably need to work that out in our next work session along with some other issues.
But let me just comment, the city never paid for the supervisor. Basketball player always paid for that. They never, in-kind, you might have got in-kind services, but we wrote a check at the end of the year.
And I don't think that's the question tonight, Councilor London, it's more the tie-in and what is the city's liability and how does this contract fit into what we may need to develop. So it's not a matter of not going forward, it's a matter of getting this more in line with what to keep the city whole and at the same time allow us to do the contract.
Yeah, well, it's the same, like you said, it's the same one that soccer had.
And we definitely, James, we'll go ahead and add that to our next work session. This will be the Monday before the next council meeting.
Yeah, we'll bring back a revised, copy to you. They are asking for it back, I got a call today.
Okay.
I have a question before we move forward, when we finish with this.
Have a couple of minutes, please go ahead.
Yeah. On second resolution, for it to be a little bit more clarification, in-kind services for the Wilson Stop to be funded from a crowdfunding initiative, not to exceed, can we include that in there? Because that's totally kind of misleading, the way it's worded.
There was Leslie sent out 2 separate emails that break down those resolutions a little bit deeper than just how they're listed on the agenda.
Okay, can we include it in the wording on the agenda?
Say not to exceed 3,500.
Yeah, to be funded through the crowdfunding initiative.
You certainly can make that change on the agenda if you want to,
Okay.
that's all, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, just-
It is included in the actual resolution itself.
Yeah,
That
but I don't.
Here's the copy that has the
Yeah,
official.
I understand the resolution,
It
is
says
included on the
It says
agenda.
not to exceed, and so did the one that came on the agenda. We received online Friday. So both of them had that word not to exceed.
Yeah, I got all of those, but as far as the agenda, the item on the agenda is misleading. All right.
But it would be made also, this particular one, so this would be, that particular one was the one she sent out last, and that's the one.
I got all of the resolutions, I got it. I just don't have my computer. That's all.
That's a copy.
I got all the information, yes.
It does say not to exceed the 35.
Right, as far as just the agenda item, the way it's worded on here.
Okay.
But when we go through the agenda, I'll go ahead and add that.
Okay,
that
and
particular
not,
item.
not to cut things short, but it is 6:30, so do I have a motion that we adjourn?
Motion that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. And we'll start right into our next meeting.